In this lesson, I will explain the imperfect tense of the main Latin irregular verbs, the main irregular verbs indicative active. Here is a table of these verbs. I was bringing, I was wanting, I wasn't wanting, I was going. I will say now that the imperfect tense does a great deal more than say I was doing something, but that is something I will leave to another time to explain. For the moment, if you look at the table, you will see that with the exception of eram, these other verbs become very regular in the imperfect. No matter what irregularities they show in the present tense, they do, again with the exception of eram, become highly regular in the imperfect. Let us, however, proceed to the matter of how the imperfect verbs are constructed. We begin, as ever, with the root, which is the basic idea of the verb, and in the imperfect, with the exception of eram, the root is unchanging. We have a connecting vowel, which, as I have said before, makes for a better join between the root and the other parts of the verb. We have a tense marker, showing when the action of the verb takes place. Then we have the personal ending, which is attached to the root, the connecting vowel, and the tense marker, and this shows who is doing the action of the verb. Let us see how this modular approach to the imperfect tense works with a regular verb. Let us take amo. Let us take the root am, which is the abstract idea of loving, the abstract idea which is entirely detached from any consideration of time or person. To this, we add the connecting vowel, ama. To this, we add the tense marker, ba. And to this, we add the personal ending, amabam. I was loving, or I used to love, or I began to love, or a whole range of other things in English, but in Latin, amabam. We remove the hyphens, amabam. We standardize the colours, amabam. This being done, let us see how the modular approach applies to the irregular verbs. We start with eram, I was. Here is the root for the imperfect tense, er. To this, we add the connecting vowel, and to this we add the personal ending. No tense marker here. It is, though, an irregular verb. This pattern being set, we move to eras, and then erat, and then eramus, eratis, erant. As said, this is a different root from what you see with the present tense of the verb, which is sum. Let us compare the imperfect and the present tense of the verb sum. There it is, sum I am. Notice that the root er is not seen in the present tense. However, while the imperfect root is different, it is completely regular in the imperfect tense. If you leave aside the matter of a missing tense marker, this is a completely regular formation. It is certainly regular within itself. This being done, let us move to the next verb in our table, I was bringing, the imperfect tense of pharaoh. We start with the root, fer. We have the connecting vowel, we have the tense marker, ba. We have the personal ending, m, ferebam. We move down, ferebas, ferebat, ferebamus, ferebatis, ferebant. Leave aside how it behaves in the present tense, and here it is. Leave aside also, and perhaps leave aside in particular, how it behaves in the perfect tense. Pharaoh, in the imperfect tense, becomes a completely regular verb. It is the same with I was wanting, or the imperfect tense of volo. Here it is, volebam, volebas, volebat, volebamus, volebatis, volebant. Contrast this with the present tense. And again, you can see that whatever irregularities the verb shows in its present tense, it becomes, in the imperfect tense, a completely regular verb. It is the same with I wasn't wanting or nolo. Here it is, nolebam, and all the others. Again, contrast this with the present tense of the verb. There it is. Again, you see that despite a high level of irregularity in the present tense, it becomes completely regular in the imperfect tense. We now move to the last verb in our table, I was going, or the imperfect tense of AO. Here is the root, I. Here is the tense marker, no connecting vowel, but a tense marker. And here is the personal ending. Ibam, ibas, ibat, ibamus, ibatis, ibant. Once again, contrast this with the present tense of AO, which is irregular, but the imperfect tense, except for the lack of a connecting vowel, is completely regular. From all this, we can see the same pattern of personal endings. MST, mustis und, and notice that M is a variation from the usual O that you see in the present tense. Note above all else, however, that with the exception of the imperfect tense of sum, all the other irregular verbs in their imperfect tense have the usual BA tense marker in them. Perhaps, with the exception of eram, all you really need to learn is BA. Remember, BA, and so long as you're aware of the root, you will never mistake the imperfect tense of the irregular verbs. Here is the complete table again. Thank you for listening to this lesson.